Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Dragoon. This is the start of Disc 4, and thus Chapter 4, Moon and Fate. In the last episode, we were greeted by Diaz, who turned out to be Zeeg, both Dart's father and Rose's former fling. So he dropped a lot of information on us. Rose is the black monster, Shauna's the moon child. The moon that never sets is the body of the god of destruction, basically. And he now possesses the soul, which he intends to reunite with the body and, well, you know, destroy the world. Pretty much how it goes with these types of things. So we're not really given any indication as to what led us here, which is kind of a drag. Because I have no idea where, like, how we got out of there and where we went to get here. But either way, we're here. Looks like some kind of a desert landscape. Reminds me a lot of the Beaconell Desert from Final Fantasy X, actually. Although, I guess technically it would be the other way around because this did come first, but, you know, just looking back at it now. Alright, so Rose mentioned a town called Alara. A town of winglies, so different from the ones we saw in the forest, I guess. Come on, Rose. You're lagging behind here. Alright, there we go. So there's a couple different ways to go. There's no real need to check out the cave, but we can anyway. It's worth mentioning that there are no random battles in this area. There are battles, but all of the battles come from enemies that you see on the field. So we don't have to worry about it. We can pretty much walk around to our heart's content. So there's this big underground cave system underneath the desert here. The world is going on without knowing anything. Yeah, so we know about this big imminent plan for the entire destruction of the world. And, you know, the world just goes on without knowing anything about it, because it's all just kind of in the shadows. Yeah, so, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. You can see there are treasure chests and everything. There's a little heal spot there. And if we wait around enough, you can see some of these sand pits are falling in. This will become clear in a little bit. You know, we got some treasure chests that we can't get to, so, like I said, there's nothing really for us to do here. Just, I guess, a thing worth checking out to keep in mind. And there's a save point here if you need it. We don't, because we literally just saved before starting the chapter, so it's fine. And here we are. So this is where, like I said, all of the battles are taking place. You can see all of the enemies are on the world map, and for the most part, they're pretty easy to avoid. You can kind of get through here without fighting a single battle if you really want. But, you know, we might as well show the enemies, so this guy, I believe, is incapable of running into me now. Well, that guy's not, so we'll do that. So a few different types of enemies. Some of them jump from out of the ground, some of them just fly around slowly. It looks like some of them also just stay still, so you kind of have to initiate that one if you'd like. So I love the big floppy sandworm thing. It's literally, well, sandworm, I was correct. And we also have a spiky beetle. This is sort of like a dung beetle. It's really kind of hard to tell because you just see like a black sphere, but there is a beetle behind it that is rolling that sphere. So, doesn't matter, let's just pick something to attack here. See how that did? Not even in the yellow. Oh well. Dart will probably get it though, he's pretty strong. Wow, maybe not. That was a lot of damage and it's still not done for. And that'll take care of it. So you can already see there, Hashel actually just did more damage than Dart did. And keep in mind, you know, Dart also has his final edition, and he's got that sword, which gives him quite a bit of an increase in strength. So Hashel is pretty much already paying off here. And we managed to stun it, which probably won't matter. Nope, because we're going to get another attack here. So you can kind of get a little view of it whenever we hit it. It sort of falls over and the dung portion of it sort of rolls over it. So, you know, get a little bit of an idea of what you're dealing with there. But as is the case with pretty much the rest of the game, random battles are not much to worry about. Alright, let's check out some of the other stuff. Let's try the still thing next. And then I'll get hit by one of those weird flies. Oh, well, it's actually moving in battle, I guess, because we engaged it. Now it's awake. So these are, well, the cactus. What do you think? They're cactuses. Whoops. I can never tell I missed that one until just nothing else comes up. Oh, I should have attacked the other one because it's been stunned. Doesn't matter. It's dead now. And so is that one. So you'd think maybe the stationary enemy would be a little bit tougher because like it can't chase after you, but it turns out it's really easy actually. Alright, weird fly. Oh yeah, you also notice there's a sand pit and it will pull you in and you've got to fight against it. I like the mark that it leaves on the sand when it pulls you in. It's just like a solid, constant footstep. It's pretty neat. Alright, fly, get over here. I'm actually having trouble running into you. Alright, oh, looks like we also got a scorpion. This is actually a recolored version of an enemy we've seen before. I think these guys were in the Barrens back in Disc 2. And these guys are just called scorpions, so I don't know what the other ones were called. I guess they ran out of individual names for these things. Scorpion, cactus, I don't know. Cambria jagged dayfly. I believe this is like the Cambria Desert. I don't actually remember its name off the top of my head. And Hashel's so much fun to use. I just like him better than Albert, so I'm kind of glad we're giving him a chance here. And down goes the scorpion. So that's like I said in the last part, you know, we are quite a bit stronger now with both these final editions and the extra levels we've picked up. So things are going to be relatively smooth sailing for a little bit at least. Alright, so that's kind of the extent of what we can expect to see around the desert. I'll try to be pretty much avoiding battles from here on out. This place is a little bit of a maze. It can be kind of hard to find your way around. You know, talking about the sand pit that we saw, this should be on the left now, yep. Whoop, run away. The sand pits, there are various ones throughout the desert. And if you go in them, you will come out at a different spot in that original cave. And I'm already getting a little bit lost here. The general direction we need to be heading is down and to the right for this first part of it. And there are some treasure chests you can pick up by going down some of those sand pits. And of course some treasure chests that are just kind of laying around the overworld as well. Okay, that's not the way we want to go, so can't go that way either. I believe this is going to lead us to a dead end. Because we can head to the left, but like I said, the direction we need to go is down and to the right. So I think that sand pit there is actually blocking our exit. So if we head back to the right and then go down around it, we should come out on the other side. And for some reason on the screens where you can exit, the music gets quieter. I'm not really sure why that is, like if that's a hint, or if that's just some weird quirk of some way they program things. So this is going to be kind of our transition into the second area. There is one treasure here in the second area that I do want to get, and it's pretty much towards the end. So I believe, yeah, so we're coming up on an oasis here. We can use this if we want to heal up or save. This water is fresh, and it will heal us fully. We've also got this looks like the exit to another cave. So again, if you fall into a sand pit in this section, you will come up there. So this place, it's kind of hard to find your way around, but it's not actually that big. Even if you're just feeling your way through by trial and error, it shouldn't take too long. So we're having a little conversation here. They should know the way we, or at least I, should take. So there's no need for you to come. So it looks like Rose is trying to ditch us now that we've learned the truth. She's pulling the whole, no, this is my duty, not yours. And of course, Miranda's gonna talk some sense into her. Don't you understand? It's no longer a problem for you alone. Yeah, the whole world's in danger. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, won't get us anywhere, but it's got to be satisfying, right? Just give her a good slap right across the face. No one can understand the weight of the fate you have carried, but we can at least lighten the burden. Yeah, it's a problem that affects all of us. Don't be so selfish. And the classic, if you have the strength to fight, we can go on. You know, like when you're a kid and you tell your parents, I'm sick, I can't go to school. And then you argue about it. And they're like, if you got the strength to argue about it, you got the strength to go to school. So we're going to stick by her. We can heal up here if we want. Like I said, you can stop by anytime you need a full refresh. And otherwise we can continue. So this is the second part of the desert. Which is quite a bit bigger than the other one. It's kind of there's kind of like 3 columns, so to speak, and I want to say like 6 or 7 rows. And our objective for this one is going to be not that way. Our objective for this one is going to be top center, basically. So if you think of it like a grid, like a rectangle that's 3 wide by 7 tall or something like that, we want to get in the middle at the very top row. Alright, so before we get ambushed by another fly, let's see where we need to go. If I'm not mistaken, the oasis is kind of in the middle, so we can't really, well, we could go further right, it looks like, if there wasn't a sand bit there. So the oasis actually might have been on the left column. Alright, so let's see where we need to go. Basically, the trick is you treat this sort of like a maze, and those sand pits are kind of walls that you can't pass. If you fall back in them, you have to come back out that cave where the oasis was, and I almost fell in that one. So we may actually be on the right side here. If we head back to the left, and another sand pit over there. Avoid the fly. I couldn't get away. That is kind of the downside of the sand pits, is that if you've got something chasing you, a lot of the times it will catch up. And okay, so this is the next oasis. You can see we've got a few different ways to go. This essentially means that we are like 3 rows down from the top, so we can heal up here if we need, which we might as well. It's not like we've taken a whole lot of damage, but it still can't hurt to be healed nonetheless. So I think where we need to go is essentially up 1, and then there's like a sand pit there that'll block it, so we have to go around to the left, and that will let us go. So if we head, yep, there's a sand pit like I thought. And if we head around to the left, you should be able to go up from here. Quick little thing if you just cut the corner. And this should be the top left corner, I believe. Yeah, notice there's walls and walls here, so we can't go anywhere else. We have to head over to the right, and there should be an exit to the top, which will lead us to the end. Yep, there it is. However, before we do that, I want to head over to the right first, and then actually down, and we are going to go into a sand pit this time. You may think that was a mistake, but no, it was entirely intentional, because this is the only way we could get to this treasure chest down in the underground cave system. And we pick up the bandit's shoes. As far as I'm aware, there are only 1 of these in the entire game, and they're very good. We are going to give these over to Hashel. As you can see, it gives 20 points more agility. So we get basically a free speed up. It's going to lower his defense a little bit, but we don't have to use an accessory slot to do it. And it's not like you replace shoes very often, so bandit shoes on Hashel, he is now just faster. We could also give him the bandit's ring if we want, but let's not go crazy here. Alright, so we fall back down. Unfortunately, this does mean we kind of have to go through like most of the second area again, but it's not really so bad. So we come on down here, and I don't remember, yeah, I guess it is this way. This will lead us up from the exit. And this should take us to the second oasis that we came to. Yep, remember this one. So again, we can grab a free heal if we want, because of the, you know, the oases. Oases, I guess it would be oases, I'm not really sure. But because of those, you encounter every handful of screens. It's not like you're really in any danger of dying in this place. So we've got to find our way through again. Let's see if I can figure it out. Alright, so we're at the third and final oasis again. Like I said, there are other treasure chests that you can pick up along the way. The only slightly interesting thing is there is a sword for Rose here, if you're really interested, but you know, it's one of those things that takes kind of a lot of backtracking afterwards, and if you're not using Rose, it doesn't really matter that much. So, I'm not going to worry about it. The bandit shoes otherwise are kind of the only important thing. You know, there's a handful of like healing items, mind purifiers, kind of the usual fare. But I'm pretty well stocked on those, so we'll just exit. It looks like we've hit the final screen, and we can now walk off into the sunset. Gotta love desert maze areas in video games, right? So here we are on the Death Frontier. This place was indeed... Oh, it's just called the Death Frontier. Oh, go figure. Alright, so we can head down into Spring Breath Town, Alara. Someone Rose apparently told us about, so let's check it out. So even if an adventurer is lucky enough to make it through the Death Frontier, nobody can proceed. Yep, looks like kind of a dead end, but, you know, through our experience, the weird green glowy circle probably indicates some kind of magic. Time was stopped for me 11,000 years ago with the spell of this choker, so in case you were wondering how she survived all this time. And this is the only way to see Alara, the Spring Breath Town. Yeah, it looks pretty much just like endless desert to the untrained eye. As Hashel says. And there it is. Pretty nice. It's weird to see a big green, well, like it said, Spring Breath Town in the middle of the desert like that, but you know, magic winglies, I guess they're capable of just about anything. Also kind of like this is a little bit of a throwback. I'm not sure if it was intentional or if it's just something I picked up on. She asked, "Are you afraid?" If you remember all the way back in Disc 1 when Dart first got his Dragoon ability, she asked, "Are you afraid?" And he said, "No, I have the power of the Dragoon." This time he says, "I think you are." Maybe so. So, I don't know if that was like an intentional callback or, you know, I kind of like it because it sort of symbolizes the fact that, like, Dart has grown up, you know, sort of understood Rose a bit more and all that. Alright, treasure over here. I don't remember if that's anything good or not. I don't think so. I think it's just another recovery item, so we'll leave it. Alright, check this place out. This is Karen, the guard of the teleporting device. Good friend of Rose's, huh? Yeah, her time was stopped. So I guess technically it's not really been a long time for her, although it kind of has. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. You've covered a lot of other things too. It was Charlie? I don't know. I'll just say Charl for simplicity's sake. For Charl Frama. Remember the name Frama. I wonder if there's a relation to Melbu there. It's been carrying the fate of the world all alone while shedding tears of blood. Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, like, you kind of hate the black monster for what it does, but then when you learn that she's actually preventing the destruction of the world every 100 years, it's kind of like, well, maybe it's not so bad. It is still bad, but, like, not as bad. I don't know. I've already settled things with the black monster. Remember, that was part of Dart's quest originally. The only thing left is that I have to complete this journey with my companions. Alright, so that's that. We got another teleporter here that we can't use. We need to see... Yeah, go see Charl first. Until you do, I will close the way going forward. Well, fine. It's going to be that way. So this is Alara. It's a pretty interesting town. It's not too hard to find your way around. It looks like there are a handful of ways to go, but there's really only kind of like 3, and they're all basically just one screen, so it's not like it's so bad. Our first order of business is we're going to see Charl Frama and see what we can learn from her. Check these things out. I can't tell if they're adorable or a little bit creepy. Preparing herself because the things we didn't tell you about. Zeke told you them, so yeah, we kind of know what's going on. The moon signet. The signet is the signet sphere. We're gonna get all this explained. It seems like kind of random words for right now, but The Signet Sphere is a sealing device that was created to be the last barrier just in case the Moonchild reached the moon that never sets. So essentially you've got the soul that's trying to reunite with the body, which is the moon that never sets, and there is this signet, kind of a last barrier that's kind of, blocking the way. Even my mistake was in your plan. You're really scary people. So Zeeg still has an obstacle. He's got to try to destroy the Signet Sphere. And in order to do that, he needs to use the Divine Moon objects. So a question comes up that Dart brings up here. You made the Signet Sphere just because you were afraid of the birth of the God of Destruction. Why'd you make tools that could destroy it, right? So apparently there was an agreement between the siblings, Charl, and assumingly Melbu. So, interesting. We can talk to this guy here. This random young Wingly man has actually got a bit of a backstory to give us, I think. He'd like to tell us something. It wasn't only Winglies that wanted the Dragon campaign. However, it's true that Winglies and humans drove themselves to war. You have time, let me tell you about the two Winglies who are the leaders. Yeah, sure, why not? You can always get a little bit more backstory. So the first is Melbu Frama. Of course, that's the name we've heard time and time again. He was the leader of the Winglies during the Dragon campaign. He was also the younger brother of Charl, so there's our confirmation. She's the older sister, in fact, which is kind of interesting. Being the leader of the Winglies meant being the ruler of the world. He professed that only Winglies had the right to live, and he ruled over other species physically and mentally. As a result, the grievances of the other species accumulated, and the Dragon campaign began. The war ended when the royal capital Cadessa was annihilated. At the same time, Melbu Frama was killed by the sword of the Dragoon, Zeeg. A little bit of a recap of some of the stuff we already know. The other man who led the Winglies was Faust. As the right-hand man of Melbu Frama, he was feared by other Winglies. He's also known as a wizard and a magician. His magic power was incredibly enormous. He could even create his own apparition. The apparition had most of the capabilities of Faust himself. Melbu felt uneasy over the existence of the apparition, so he created something. What Faust did was like professing an intention towards disloyalty, yeah. He was kind of like flexing his own power, It's natural that he didn't like it. It was called the Vanishing Stone. With that item, it is said that you can make the apparition disappear, although I don't know if it's true or not. Let's go back to the story. Anyway, that was kind of a derailment. Faust was the commander of the super mobile fort Flanville as well. Remember Flanville, of course. Now it's at the bottom of a glacier, however. It used to be floating in the sky in order to protect the 5 main cities that also floated in the sky. Some of the other ruins that we've visited, some that we have not. Faust manipulated Flanville and killed any other species. The insanity of Faust ended up with the collapse of Flanville. It was shot down by a weapon invented by the humans, the spear shooter. We're not very good at naming things. A spear shooter. Alright, so I like how this just random young Wingly man, he's not even given a name, gives us all this story about the wizard Faust, the floating cities, and how Melbu created the Vanishing Stone in order to get rid of his apparition he could create. So, interesting. Anyway, it's not what we came here for, but I guess good to hear nonetheless. The Winglies and their teleporters, man, like they can fly places, right? They could totally have just flown that distance. Alright, and I guess this would be Charl. I like those fountains at the bottom. They look pretty good for PS1 era. Oh, now you can't see them because of the text box, but I like it. I think that's actually really good. Water effects are tough. So, they kind of did what they could with their limitations. Oh, you are scary. And of course, Charl has a unique way of speaking. Can you introduce me to the son of dear Zeegi? She has affectionate pet names for everyone. But Rosie, honey, it's complicated. You have to fight with the son of someone who used to be your significant other. Yeah. Do you want me to give you a knuckle sandwich? It's kind of interesting seeing Rose being a lot more relaxed because she's around old friends now, I'm really concerned, so I'm intentionally making it happy and delightful so you won't be depressed. So it's interesting because this is actually the older sister of, you know, the diabolical Melbu Frama that we've heard so much about. And she's like so sweet and giving everyone little pet names. All right, so Charles gonna give us a bit of a backstory here. We can ask her about a number of things. We'll be asking about all of them, of course. So let's just start from the top. Let's ask about the Signet Sphere. Remember, that was the barrier. It's trying to break the signet of the moon that never sets with the magic power of the divine moon objects. And apparently not even Rose knew about this. So the signet of the moon that never sets is not broken yet. So essentially there are kind of smaller signets that need to be broken before the larger one can. They originally placed in 5 cities, but there's only 3 of them left. And that's why they needed the same number of divine moon objects. So the other 2, one was destroyed in the royal capital Cadessa during the Dragon campaign. That makes sense. This one's interesting. The other one was lost when the divine dragon assaulted the Crystal Palace. Remember that weird room that Shauna was called to? Yeah, that got destroyed whenever the dragon attacked. So that turns out that was actually one of the signets that was blocking the moon that never sets. So the divine moon objects are just tools that conceal vast amounts of magic power. There's nothing special in them, you know, by themselves. They just contain a whole lot of magic. Having the same amount of magic power as the divine moon objects is sufficient. So you don't actually need the objects, you just kind of need the magic. My dad knew about this and made Lloyd collect them. Doesn't seem like him, and it's indirect, and something is strange. How Zeke knows about the Signet Sphere. He seems to have some kind of knowledge that if not even Rose knew about it, there's no way Zeke would know, right? So, yeah, he had to have been fed something. And he also knew that Shauna was the moon child. Alright, so let's ask about the moon that never sets. Please don't say that legend again. I don't care about the 108 years thing. So it's the 108th fruit. It was conceived with the god of destruction that ends the world. That's why we separated it into its soul and flesh and sealed them away. This is all we know, of course. Baby brother Melbu. It's just so funny to see him referred to that way. Sealed the soul, which was the source of the magic power in the Crystal Sphere, but when he fought with Zieg, it was broken. The soul escaped from the Crystal Sphere and started to transmigrate into a human body. This is called the Moon Child. This is all the stuff that Zieg told us before, just making sure you get it, I guess. And when the two are reunited, the god of destruction is born, and they needed Rose to essentially continue killing the Moon Child every 100 years. So, pretty tough fate to be assigned there. So let's learn a little bit more about Zieg while we're here. So why does he, why would you want to do that? I mean, that's the one thing that even she doesn't understand. This is Rose's fiance back in the day. They crossed both swords and love. Just looking at them made me feel embarrassed. Stop right there. You do not say another word. Talk alone with Zieg about our memories. You know, it's fair enough. Alright, so we get one more thing. The important question. Why make items to break the signet if you're preventing the destruction of the world, right? Yeah, if you weren't planning to allow the Virage embryo to be born, you wouldn't need to ever break that seal. She didn't want to, but Melbu insisted. That's not an explanation. So we sealed the soul of the Virage embryo in the Crystal Sphere. That's in order to draw lots of magical power. Wanted to make him stop being a dictator, because even though we have different appearances or capabilities, we're the same. We should be able to live together on good terms. That's why I created the Signet Sphere, in order to weaken the magic power of the Crystal Sphere. So she actually weakened its magic power. It's one of those things where, you know, like if you had unlimited magic power, how could you possibly lose, right? But he still did. So she created those seals, weakened the crystal sphere, and thought it was a success, but Melbu found out about it and created the divine moon object. So he kind of went behind her back there. I guess he was prepared so he could destroy the signets when he wanted to. Alright, one more question, I think. It's probably the last one. Where are the rest of the signets? So we know about the 2 that were destroyed. There are 3 remaining. We need to figure out where those are. That's the most important information. Yeah, we gotta keep Zeeg from breaking them. Alright, so the rest of the 3 signet spheres are located in the ancient cities. Magical City Aglis, Lost City Xenobados, and Death City Mayfill. So the 3 other ancient cities of the Winglies. They were badly damaged during the war, but still operational apparently. Go to Rouge, then your way will be open. Hey, Ashel, that's your hometown, buddy. We finally get to see it. A place we've heard about, but never actually seen or even known where it is. Alright, so there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of stuff to process, which is why I tried to make sure that I went over it pretty well, just to make sure that you got it, because, you know, it's a little bit it's a little bit tricky. You know, the game wasn't exactly localized the best either, so, you know, there's a little bit of generalities here and there, but hopefully you get it. Alright, so it's nighttime now. We need to just take a walk around the town. Everybody left a little while ago, so we can verify that. I don't know why I'm doing this, but we can see just dark, so we have to go find everybody basically. We can end up here if we want, but there's nothing, so let's just leave. And this is basically where I'm going to be looking to end the video. There are a couple things that we do want to pick up around Alara, though. No real items or anything. But we're going to have some scenes around here and there anyway, so I don't know when we'll get to it. There's having a little moment of reflection. Our way's opened. Yep, so the whole black monster thing, it's hard to put behind him. You know, it kind of upended his entire life. You know, killed his parents, he thought, and everybody else in the village. So, I missed the time when you were chased by Fairbrand in the forest. Yeah, those were the days. And all this stuff was going on. Remember, he met with Lloyd. Zeeg met with Lloyd, what, like 3 years before? So, Creator so can recreate one anytime. People living there can accept it, believing it's fate, or struggle against it. And I believe we will be choosing the latter. I struggled in order to protect this world that was taken back by friends who gave up their lives. So finally, it took forever, but Rose is, you know, kind of becoming an equal to us. She's always kind of been sort of like one step above. You know, she's the one who knew about all these legendary things. And there's always kind of more to her than we knew about. But now we're pretty much on equal footing, so it's good. Oh, in the mouth of this. It's a Stardust, of course. Alright, so I'm going to pretty much try to make a beeline for the save point, if I can remember where that is. Up here, perhaps, if I'm not mistaken. Because I do want to go ahead and leave things off here. We do have to search around town for everybody. Yeah, this is where it is. So before we leave, we can check. It's hard to hold it without being scratched by the thorns. Another Stardust. There's one more to collect here, but we're at the save point. We'll get it next time while we're looking for everybody in town. So we're here in Alara. And this is where we're going to leave it. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.